In 1967, British television broadcast a drama that quietly changed how the medium was perceived. It was not a crime series, or an adventure show, or even a conventional historical drama. Instead, it was a long, carefully paced adaptation of a family saga set in late Victorian and Edwardian England. Yet week after week, audiences returned to it in extraordinary numbers. The series was the Forsyte Saga, and its success revealed something important about television. Until that moment, the medium was often regarded as temporary entertainment, something watched once and then forgotten. The Forsyte Saga suggested that television could do something more ambitious. It could build a world that viewers could inhabit over many weeks. The story itself was based on the novels of John Galsworthy, whose books explored the fortunes of a wealthy English family across several generations. Galsworthy's writing focused not only on the personal lives of the Forsytes, but also on the values of the society they represented. Property, respectability, reputation, and inheritance all played central roles in shaping the characters' decisions. These themes made the novels particularly well suited to long-form storytelling. Rather than presenting a single dramatic crisis, the narrative unfolded gradually through family relationships, marriages, rivalries, and social change. When the BBC adapted the books for television, they recognised that the strength of the story lay in its ability to develop slowly. Instead of compressing the narrative into a short drama, the series allowed events to unfold over many episodes. Viewers were invited to return regularly to the same characters and the same social environment. The result was something that television had rarely attempted on this scale before, a serial drama that built an entire social world. At the centre of the story stood the Forsyte family itself. They were prosperous, respectable, and deeply concerned with property. Houses, land, and financial investments were treated not simply as assets, but as symbols of stability and social position. Within this world, one figure emerged as particularly compelling: Soames Forsyte. Played with intense control by Eric Porter, Soames is a character defined by possession. He values order, ownership, and permanence above almost everything else. This outlook shapes his relationships, particularly his troubled marriage to Irene. The tension between Soames's desire for control and Irene's longing for independence becomes one of the central conflicts of the series. Through this relationship, the drama explores the rigid social expectations of late Victorian society. Marriage, status, and reputation all carry enormous weight. Personal happiness is often secondary to maintaining appearances. Around these central characters, the series gradually constructs a much larger portrait of English upper middle class life. Family gatherings, business dealings, and social obligations reveal a community organised around stability and continuity. The Forsytes believe deeply in the permanence of property and the structures that support it, yet the world around them is beginning to change. The late 19th century was a period of growing social and cultural transformation. New ideas about art, relationships, and individual freedom were challenging the rigid conventions of Victorian respectability. These tensions appear throughout the series. Characters who attempt to live differently encounter resistance from the established order. Traditions that once seemed unquestionable began to look fragile when confronted with changing attitudes. In this way, the drama uses the story of a single family to explore the broader transition from Victorian certainty to the uncertainties of the 20th century. One of the reasons the series proved so compelling on television was the sense of familiarity it created over time. Because the story unfolded across many episodes, viewers became accustomed to returning to the same drawing rooms, the same social gatherings, and the same family conflicts. The Forsyte world began to feel almost like a place audiences could visit regularly. This is one of the great strengths of serial television. Instead of presenting a complete story in a single evening, it allows the narrative environment to develop gradually. Characters reveal themselves over time, relationships evolve, and the audience develops a deeper understanding of the fictional world. The Forsyte Saga demonstrated how powerful this approach could be. Viewers were not simply watching a historical drama, They were returning to a social world whose rules and tensions they had come to understand. The production itself also reflected the ambitions of the series. Costumes, interiors, and period details were carefully designed to recreate the atmosphere of late Victorian and Edwardian society. Formal drawing rooms, carefully arranged gardens, and elegant city houses all reinforced the sense of a world organised around order and propriety. These visual elements were not merely decorative, they helped express the values of the society being portrayed. Every object in the Forsyte household reflected the importance placed on ownership and stability. The furniture, the paintings, and the houses themselves all symbolised the family's belief in permanence. Yet beneath this carefully constructed surface, the drama continually suggested that the world was shifting. Emotions that could not be openly expressed began to disrupt the neat appearance of respectability. Relationships strained under the pressure of expectations that no longer felt entirely convincing. The stability that the Forsytes valued so highly gradually began to look uncertain. What made the Forsyte Saga particularly important in the history of British television was the scale of its audience response. During its original broadcast, the series became one of the most widely discussed programmes on television. Viewers followed the unfolding relationships with remarkable attention, debating the characters' decisions and speculating about what might happen next. The story had effectively turned a literary family chronicle into a shared national conversation. But beyond the audience figures, the series demonstrated something more lasting. It showed that television could sustain complex narrative over a long period without losing the audience's interest. Instead of demanding constant action or spectacle, the drama relied on character development, emotional conflict, and gradual social change. The medium of television proved perfectly suited to this kind of storytelling. Looking back now, it is clear that the Forsyte Saga helped establish a model that later television dramas would follow repeatedly. Large ensemble casts, stories unfolding across many episodes, detailed fictional worlds that audiences could return to week after week. These elements have since become familiar features of television drama, but in the late 1960s they still felt relatively new. The Forsyte Saga showed how powerful the format could be when handled with patience and confidence. In the end, the series remains memorable not simply because it adapted a successful set of novels. It remains important because it demonstrated that television could create a rich and sustained dramatic world. Through the lives of the Forsyte family, the series reconstructed an entire social environment. The drawing rooms, the marriages, the property disputes, and the unspoken tension between characters all formed part of a carefully observed portrait of a changing society. Viewers were not simply watching a period drama. They were witnessing the slow transformation of a world built on certainty and possession. And as the story unfolded week after week, television itself proved that it was capable of something more than fleeting entertainment. It could sustain a complex drama that audiences would inhabit over time. In that sense, the Forsyte Saga did something revolutionary. It showed that television could become a place where serious drama lived. Thank you so much for listening. Always appreciated. And I will be back on another day with another television show. Bye.